All right, so this is a quick interview time. I've known you for about 15 years, actually.
Yeah.
It's been...
I think it's over 15 years already.
Yeah. So, for those of you who don't know, Eric Mulvin, the CEO of Pac Biz, tell us how you got to be here at this point in time right now.
Oh, man. Well, I mean, if I start my journey back, at least when I met Geoff about 15 years ago at ASU, I went to business school. I knew I wanted to start a business one day, and I always said I just don't know what, but I wanted to get into some place where I can disrupt it and bring in new technology. And so I decided a taxi business. The taxi industry was the place to bring my talents to. So about 10 years ago, I started my first taxi business here in Scottsdale, Arizona. We got to 10 cabs. And in that process, we started a call center in the Philippines to take our calls. And we got to have that running 24/7. It was running really smoothly. In fact, I'd go weeks and months without even talking to them. They just handled it all, and we'd kind of set it and forget it. But 2013, 2014, taxi industry, that disruption I was hoping for. Uber and Lyft had billions more dollars, and they were able to disrupt what I was trying to do, the same thing. And so it took our taxi business out. But the call center moved on. It lived on because there was another company in town here in Phoenix, and when we were too busy, we'd give them our calls. And when it came time to close our doors for our taxi company, that's when he brought me into his office. He's like, I need more call center agents. Why don't you bring them over to our office? We'll interview them, and maybe we can give them a job. And that's when he found out too that the people he'd been talking with were all in the Philippines. So he became our first client back in late 2014. And so that's how we got started. With those first few people that took calls from my taxi company, they were the very start of Pac Biz, and you could see them as the director of company culture. Our very first employee, Keisha. Another one is the operations manager. Another one's the manager of the quality department. So a lot of these first people are now leaders, top leaders at the company, running everything. So it's incredible. It's been a fun journey to watch, because now went from 5 people to now in 2021 we have about 155 staff.
Wow. You mentioned something about your first employees now being leaders. How do you see the growth in your members? What do you see for them?
Yeah, I mean, we look for people that can grow with us, because if you look at what Pac Biz was like, what we're like, 5 years ago, 6 years ago when this company first started, and where we're at today, there's a significant amount of growth that had to happen from me, from my leaders, from our staff. Even if you were just taking phone calls 5 years ago and you still wanted that job today, we have plenty of people that still have that same job throughout these last 5 years. They've had to grow too, because their job has changed. We went from just we need people on the phones to now we're putting in metrics, and now we're measuring performance, and now we're looking at trends over time, and now we're putting in up training and seeing how we're doing over. It's just the job has gotten much more sophisticated, and also in the last 5-10 years, the job has changed too for customer service. A lot of stuff is done through self-service, through you go online and you do it all yourself. The app will take care of it, or the platform. And so there's less need for calls necessarily. And so when you do have to call, it's more important, and they're bigger issues, and you have more complaints. So now, versus where a call center person might only have 20% of their day handling complaints, maybe it's now 80%. And so you have to have a better skill set to be able to diffuse all of those bad calls and go on to the next call and do it all over again, and then go to the next call and do it all over again. Without the right training and without the right personality on the phone, that's going to lead to a bad experience for those customers.
So you would say that it's more important to just make sure that when you do have calls for your agents, the quality of it needs to be pretty much like top notch.
Yeah, we promise the best customer support out there, and no matter what it is. And if we can't deliver on that, then we have to walk away from each other. I can't work with a business if we cannot provide the best service, and you're not a super fan of our service at the end of the day. If you can go and switch to another call center and you feel like you can get the same service somewhere else for less, please do. Because we're not looking to work with people like that, and we want to do stuff that we could excel at and that we could make an impact with your business.
Eric, I noticed when you would present to one of your clients, one of the things that you would mention to them is your 5 points of support. Can you explain to me what those 5 points are?
Yeah. So at Pac Biz, we have our 5 points, and it's our way of explaining to everybody that when you work with Pac Biz, you're getting an agent or multiple agents, but you are getting a lot more than that. We surround those agents with a ton of support, and so that's what we call our 5 points of support. And it starts out with training, especially when we first get started, making sure that we have training professionals involved to make sure that we're getting started and we're learning everything we need to know, and the agents doing that. Supervisors, we have supervisors 24/7, so each agent gets assigned to a supervisor that is working with them, so they're making sure they're logging in, logging out, going to lunch, going to break on time. They're not sitting on after call work too long, they're not taking too long replying to emails. And then if things come up, let's say you have an update for your staff and there's something they need to know for the next week, you have a new product that's come out. The supervisor is the one that communicates that to all those agents to make sure that as they come in throughout the day, here's the new update we got from the client. Make sure you're talking about this for your pricing, or this is the process to follow today for this